Do you believe it? Many people unknowingly ruin their later years just by moving close to their children. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Because all our lives we dream of staying close to our children and grandchildren, sharing meals, hearing laughter in the house, and never feeling alone. But sometimes that very dream of a joyful old age slowly robs us of our freedom, dignity, and even the precious relationships we hold most dear. I've read hundreds of real stories. Some thought, I'll move closer to help out. I won't be any trouble. But just a few months later, they found themselves waiting for texts that never came, eating dinner alone, and feeling like they were there but not needed. Here's the twist. Sometimes, keeping your distance is the best way to stay close. In this video, you'll understand why so many people wished they hadn't moved near their children. And if you're considering it, please, watch this before it's too late. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Someone in your life might need this message too. 1. I became a burden, even if my child never said so. I'm 69 years old, and I once believed, living near my child will be wonderful. I can help out, play with the grandkids, have dinner together on weekends. It'll be perfect. So I moved, just a few streets away from my daughter. At first, everything felt fine. She was happy. I was happy, but slowly. I started noticing her rushed glances when I dropped by. She answered my questions quickly, then looked back at her phone. I asked for help with groceries or fixing the sink. She still helped, but it didn't feel the same. She never said I was a burden, but each day I felt it more clearly. And perhaps the most painful thing isn't being told no. It's being quietly forgotten. If you've ever felt like an inconvenience, even in your own family, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We're walking this path of aging together, and sometimes knowing you're not alone is the comfort we all need. 2. I lost myself and didn't even realize it. I used to be independent, drove myself around, planned trips, tended my garden every morning. But just a few months after moving closer to my son, things changed. I stopped going to the store, figured he could grab things for me. I quit morning walks. My grandson started coming over early. I let my son make my doctor's appointments instead of calling myself. Then one morning, I stood in the kitchen struggling to open a jar of jam. My hands shook more than I remembered. Not from age, but from no longer doing small things on my own. Have you ever felt like you're slowly losing the ability to lead your own life? Are you trying to rediscover who you used to be? I've come to learn. The more we rely on others, the easier it is to forget how strong we once were. And when you lose your independence, you don't just lose freedom, you lose your confidence too. 3. Being too close started breaking our bond. I used to think, the closer we are, the better we'll understand each other. But then I realized, being too close can lead to more conflict. Living near my son, I saw everything. How he disciplined his kids, how they handled money, even the little arguments between him and his wife. As a father, I wanted to help, to offer advice. But the more I chimed in, the more tension filled the room. Eventually, my son talked to me less. When I stopped by, my daughter-in-law gave polite smiles. But the closeness we once had was gone. I wasn't trying to interfere. But when you live nearby, it's hard not to see, not to comment, not to get involved. Have you ever found yourself in the same situation, just trying to care, but ending up making things worse? If that's ever happened to you, Share your story in the comments. You don't need to explain much. Just be honest. Someone out there may need to hear it to make sense of their own experience. 4. The closer I got to my child, the lonelier I felt. It sounds backwards, doesn't it? But truthfully, I've never felt more alone than when I lived just 3 minutes from my daughter's house. I imagined Sunday dinners together, mornings with the grandkids running over, but in reality she was busy, the kids had school, and my house echoed with more TV noise than voices. I had left behind my old neighborhood, my weekend chess club, and quiet coffee mornings with familiar faces. I thought I had chosen closeness, but what I really did was trade everything familiar for a sliver of hope, then lost it all. Have you ever given up everything you knew, hoping to feel closer, only to end up not belonging anywhere? If this resonates with you, I hope you'll share a few words, not just for me, but for anyone standing at that same crossroads, unsure which way to turn. 5. When love comes with guilt. I don't know exactly when it started, but every time I asked my child for help, a ride to the doctor, changing a light bulb, fixing a leak, I felt guilty. And every time my child couldn't help, they'd text gently, "Sorry, Dad, I'm swamped." But I could hear the sigh behind the words. I don't blame them. They have a career, young kids, a full life of their own. But I began to realize, when parents live too close to their grown children, the relationship can turn into a string of silent guilt. I felt like a burden. They felt like they were falling short. No one said it, but we were both tired in different ways. Have you ever felt that tug of war in your heart? Loving your child deeply, but knowing every request chips away at your pride and pushes you a little farther from them? If you've ever lived between love and guilt, share that feeling. Maybe someone reading it will finally understand their own family better. 6. Being close might mean missing your own life. I once believed I made the right choice, living near my family in a quiet, familiar place. But one day, I read a quote that shook me. "Comfort is the silent thief of big experiences." It hit me. Since I moved close to my kids, I stopped going anywhere new. I hesitated to make new friends, skipped community events. I told myself, family is enough. But each afternoon, sitting alone on my balcony, I felt the truth. I had stopped living for myself, just to stay close to someone else. One friend of mine, he's 71, did the opposite. He moved to a coastal town where he knew no one. Now, he's got salsa dance classes, French lessons, and a spark in his eyes again. What would you choose? A familiar life that feels empty, or a fresh life that's further away but full of discovery? If there's a place calling you to feel alive again, would you go? 7. Maybe your child isn't ready to take care of you. One of my biggest regrets was assuming my child is ready for my old age. But they weren't, and honestly, I shouldn't have expected it. After my wife passed, I moved close to my son. I thought, he's my boy. Of course he'll want me nearby. But I forgot. He was juggling a career, raising kids, handling marriage. I arrived too early, before he had the emotional space to stop being just my son and become my caregiver. When I got sick for a few days, he tried his best, but I could see the strain, the confusion. It hurt, not because of the illness, but because I realized he wasn't ready, and I had pushed him into it. Have you ever placed expectations on someone who wasn't ready? In families, too much pressure can drive people apart faster than any physical distance. 8. This is your time to live for you. You've spent a lifetime living for others, for your children, your parents, your responsibilities. But now, in the stage meant for freedom, you're holding yourself back, afraid that not living near your kids makes you selfish. I used to feel that way too, until one day I sat alone by the ocean. No grandkids, no schedule, no obligations. I took a deep breath and realized, for the first time in 40 years, I'm doing something just for me. I moved to a small town, 2 hours from my son. Not too far, but far enough for space. Now I grow vegetables, take photography classes, and, most importantly, I've found myself again. If you're standing at the doorway to freedom, don't lock yourself inside a box called duty. Sometimes peace comes when you feel whole again, even if you're far away. Do you have a dream you've left on the shelf? Write it down. It's never too late to begin. 9. You don't need to see everything to love fully. I used to believe, if I'm close, I'll understand more. I'll help more. But I learned, some things are better left unseen. Living nearby, I saw how my son disciplined his kids. Too gentle, I thought. I saw my daughter-in-law let them watch too much TV. At dinner, I stayed quiet, but inside I was frustrated. One day, I spoke up, not to criticize, but out of love. It led to an argument and weeks of silence. That's when I learned. Distance can help you love more purely, without seeing the things that disturb your peace. Are you too close to keep the peace? Sometimes family needs a slightly closed door to keep the respect alive. 10. Being too close makes boundaries harder to keep. When I lived near my son, I thought nothing of dropping by. I'm just passing by, no big deal. At first, he welcomed it, but eventually, I noticed slower greetings, polite smiles that didn't reach his eyes. Then came the hard truth. "Dad," he said, "we need space too." That broke me, not because he was wrong, but because I realized I had crossed a boundary I didn't even see. When you live nearby, it's easy to expect constant access. But your child is an adult now with their own home, routines, and privacy, just like you once needed when they were young. If you've ever felt quietly turned away, know this. It's not a lack of love, it's just that even love needs room to breathe. 11. Being a full-time grandparent can wear you out. I love my grandkids, truly. But I never expected that moving close would feel like starting a whole new job. School drop-offs, weekend babysitting, late-night calls. At first, I thought, helping is a blessing. But months in, I was exhausted. No more morning walks, no books, no quiet afternoons. I loved them, but I missed me, the retirement I imagined. It became just another packed schedule. If you're finding yourself busier now than when you worked full-time, just because you live nearby and you're available, please remember, you have the right to love without losing yourself. Ask yourself honestly, am I living my golden years or someone else's version of them? Closing, a beautiful distance. Some distances don't weaken love, they help it breathe. It took me years to understand this. Being nearby doesn't always mean being closer. Being present every day doesn't guarantee deeper bonds. Sometimes, a little space brings us closer than ever. If you're torn between living near your kids or choosing your own path, remember this. You are allowed to choose yourself, not out of selfishness, but because you've given enough. Old age isn't an end. It's a new journey, a time to live on your own terms, do what you love, and let your children see a parent who is joyful, healthy, and alive. If this story touched you, I hope you'll share your thoughts. Not for me, but for others who may need your voice to see more clearly. And if you found this message helpful, please like, comment, or share it. And don't forget to subscribe for more meaningful content on living fully at every stage of life. Your golden years belong to you. Live them the way you truly want to. See you in the next video, right here on Healthy Wisdom.